Sure. My name is Brent Jones, and I graduated from Pepperdine School of Law and practice law, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm a businessman now, and I own the company called Real Water. And as a quick background on me, I wish I was a veteran. I'll tell you, I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and had a pilot slot in the Air Force. I went to Vandenberg and did basic training, and then unfortunately, as you know, pilot slots are pretty rare and hard to get, so it was quite an accomplishment to obtain it. But then I got a rare disease in my junior year in college, so I lost my pilot slot and wasn't able to go in to the Air Force. So I would have been one of you guys, but unfortunately wasn't able to. So I went and did business, and now Real Water is doing very well. And like I say, I'm a businessman, not a politician per se, but I believe our country is at a time when we need to get back to our constitutional principles, or we're going to go to socialism. So I'm willing to stand up and fight the good fight.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir. You're going to read a statement into the record for candidate you represent.
Yeah, first, can you hear me okay? Sometimes I'm loud, okay? My name is George Rivers, and I'm representing Mary Nakashima, St. Martin. I met Mary when I worked with Joe Heck. We worked hard. I'm a member of a Veterans Club up in Siena, which is part of Summerlin. We have about 350, 400 veterans that live in Siena, and we're a well-organized club, and that's how I met Joe Heck. Joe asked me to co-chair his coalition of military veterans, and it was my honor to work with Joe, and Joe got elected. That's how I met Mary. Mary worked for Joe Heck, and she is in California. She right now is going to be the godmother of her nephew, and so they got in the car yesterday and drove to Redding, California. She asked me to sit in for her, and I feel very honored to be able to do so. I'm going to read something. It's very, very short, to the point.
So your microphone's pointed to the speakers.
Okay.
Hey, Brent,
how's that?
Want to turn that one off?
Okay,
So you got
Mary.
8 seconds.
Mary wants to apologize for not being here today. She was honored to be asked to be her nephew's godmother at their baptism this Easter weekend in Redding, California. Your hand is up.
Yeah, you're out of time.
Well,
okay.
He's going to read a statement from her, and then.
Okay. Yeah, but that's subject to the minute, so we'll give him another 20 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to have to read fast here. This is the important part. Mary Nakashima, St. Martin, is a third-generation native Nevadan. Her father, Nobu Nakashima, was a Marine and a combat veteran of the Korean War. So Marie has had a great example of what it means to serve our nation. After graduating from UNLV, she worked in Washington, D.C. for now Senator Dean Heller. She returned to Nevada, where she was a spokeswoman for Congressman Joe Heck. In 1910, Marie was the communications director for the Nevada Republican Party. She currently works for a local small business in the private sector as a sales and community outreach representative. Marie is running for state senate.
We really need to cut you there.
That's all right. He's going to be done after this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you know why I'm sitting in for her, okay? Marie is running for state senate because she believes we need more true conservatives in the legislature. She believes that conservative fiscal policies will help attract businesses and jobs to Nevada. Smaller government is better government, and lower taxes are the best investment in the people of Nevada. As a state senator from Southwest Las Vegas, she will fight as an advocate for policies that will create jobs, encourage entrepreneurs, and the creation of small businesses, and to ensure growth. Marie and her husband Jack reside in the 9th District with their daughter. They are parishioners at Holy Spirit Catholic Church. Thank you for your time. I'm going to get off the platform. I can't answer questions for them.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
If you wouldn't mind leaving that with
Yeah.
Anna, so if anybody wants to.
And I'm a member of this club, and I'm going to go back and start drinking chesty beer for $1. I'm glad.
Are you buying us beer too?
I'm
voting for you.
All right, so we
Thank you.
We have one candidate, Brent Jones, for Senate District 9. Senate District 9 was the district that
You want your notes?
Elizabeth Halseth was in, and she resigned and left the state. And so it has been, you know, in the middle of her term, she resigned and left the state. So now this is an open seat, and it was in redistrict, the district did change some in redistricting this session. So, Mr. Jones, we're going to open up to the panel for questions. Jim Jonas, would you start us off here?
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Jones, first off, I want to thank you for coming out this Easter weekend. I know you've probably been walking, but we appreciate you coming and talking to us. The question I have for you is, what research have you done to prepare yourself for when you, if you do win, take office?
I think research, per se, I wouldn't say that I've done a lot of research other than the School of True Hard Knocks. I mean, I have a background in law. I went to Pepperdine School of Law. I did practice law for a number of years. I have a very strong business background in that I know what it means to actually make a payroll, run a company, produce a product, not just fight regular competition, but have to deal with the day-to-day hammer from bureaucrats coming in and telling you you have to just change this, do this, spend this money, do that. So I know firsthand what it takes to actually create jobs.
Okay, well, I got to follow up to that because I'm like I said again, I appreciate you coming in here, but if you're going to run for office and you're going to be an office holder, specifics. I mean, everybody says they want smaller government, they're going to create more jobs. I need specifically, what research have you done and how are you going to improve this state once elected?
Well, you ask a kind of broad question, so that's why I gave you a broad answer. But as I use as a guideline is NPRI, you're familiar with them? Nevada Policy Research Institute. I have their booklet, which I've read a number of things out of it, and I do believe in a lot of their policies and positions of smaller government, less taxation. I know what it takes to make jobs, create jobs, because I do it. But NPRI is who I use as my guidance, general guidance.
Okay, thank you, and again, I appreciate you coming in. Who's next?
All right, we'll pass it on down to the... Bruno? Thank you.
Yes, hello. Thank you for coming in. Bruno Moya, Veterans in Politics. Question for you. District 9, are there any veteran organizations in District 9? And if there are, how would you work with them to improve veteran rights?
Well, I'm not certain. To be honest with you, I don't know if there are any specific veterans organizations within the district. Of course, I'm very open to listening to people and what their philosophies and issues are. I know that the veterans are very interested in a veteran court with matters in regular court as opposed to when they're in the service, when they're out. And I think that's a good idea. The biggest thing that I am is a very constitutional conservative. I want to get back to the Constitution of the United States and adhere to that and not allow for a lot of extra bureaucracy and other things. So that's my main position. And to say specifically how it would affect the veterans' rights, we'd have to look specifically at the issue at hand. But I will tell you this, that anybody that understands and appreciates the freedoms that we have here in the United States has got to understand and appreciate what veterans do to ensure those freedoms. And I do understand that. Like I said, I intended to go into the service out of college. Unfortunately, I got a very rare disease called Guillain-Barré. But I do appreciate what veterans do because I know that's what makes our country so great.
All right. Leo.
I wanted to see if you have any ideas on how to solve some of our PERS unfunded mandates there. Unfunded liabilities that the state has, and long-term businesses aren't going to want to come here if there's this huge thing hanging over our heads with potentially major increases in taxes.
I agree exactly. I couldn't agree more with what you said. For instance, the sunset taxes. Sunset that term is given because they're supposed to expire. And then now certain factions of our party want to continue with those. I'm not for any new taxation. I just signed the tax pledge. But I understand. I moved here from California. And as much as the desert's nice, I'm telling you, California is paradise to live in. However, the government is hostile to business, so that's why I left. So I know firsthand what it is to have to relocate because of oppressive government, particularly in business. And as a businessman, I can look at balance sheets, I can look at budgets, I can look at these things and understand what they mean because I have to do that every day. I have to balance my books every day, not every day, but weekly or monthly. And I don't want to have to move from Nevada to Texas I'd want to stay here, so that's why I decided I need to run. I can't sit and complain like other businessmen do. Trust me, when we go out to lunch and stuff, us businessmen, we complain. That's what we do. And I decided I can't just sit and complain anymore. I've got to do something, so I'm throwing my hat in the ring.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lauer.
Mike? Have the mic, please. I suppose you want your timing started there?
Yes. Real quick, as an employer, do you give veterans any any special preference when you hire?
Well, not specifically veterans any particular preference, but I will tell you this, that veterans are, when they do come, I have had a few, I don't have any long-term veterans with me now, but I do know that when I do appreciate them, because one thing is they can follow orders and they can duplicate usually, which is really good.
That was his time there.
You know what I mean? Most employees, it's like they don't understand. They think that they could just be take a seat up and they're entitled to income. Veterans at least know what it means to work, get things done, and duplicate orders.
So if you were elected, would you support legislation that required county, state, public organizations, government, police, fire, to give special preferences if the people are equally qualified to hire the vet first?
Well,
returning vets.
I'm going to confess, you might not want to hear this, but I'm not for really a lot of special preferences. I mean, I don't mind, like we talked about the court, because that's, you know, veterans have a separate group of issues that the court should be aware of. But I'm not so much for putting in preferences, because what happens with bureaucracy is whenever you do is put more tinkering and tinkering and tinkering, it just becomes a bigger problem down the road. If it could be specific and outlined to a specific issue, like a short-term benefit, perhaps like a GI Bill type thing when people come back, not a problem with that. But I'm not for putting on lots more regulation and government and that type of thing. So I'd have to look at it specifically.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brown?
Travis, why don't we start with you?
Mr. Barrett?
Thank you. Thanks for being here today. Would you support an initiative in Clark County to market Las Vegas as a veterans recovery oasis, meaning it's a place where by symbiosis we can take veterans in, provide services, treatment services, recovery services? Would you support that as a national marketing scheme?
Well, as a national marketing scheme, first of all, if that's to be marketed, the infrastructure has to be there. So I'd have to first have a better analysis of what the infrastructure is in terms of that. But I think, you know, like a lot of Arizona, you know, snowbird type states, but something similar to that for veterans. I think promoting, if we provide good services for the state of Nevada is good promotion any way you look at it. But again, I'd have to look specifically at your initiative in terms of what that would entail, who would be funding these things, what does it mean to set up such an organization. And without all the details, I couldn't say one way or the other.
All right.
Good afternoon. Thank you for attending, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
Your literature states that you would like to break the stranglehold of the teachers' unions. Overall, in our community, our parents believe that teachers need to teach. In other countries, parents believe that their children need to learn. I don't believe that is a problem with the unions. I think that's a problem with our families and the way our environment is. How would you address that?
Well, that's a two-sided question. First of all, the reason why I'm not so fond of unions is because they have a stranglehold or monopoly on a system, and they do not allow competition. Charter schools, vouchers would allow competition, and we know our country became the greatest country on earth through competition, capitalism, and rewarding those that produce well or achieve. Just like the military, you know, you get rewarded for when you do well or you excel. With unions, it's brought down. It's brought down. So that's why I'm so against unions, and I prefer charters and potentially vouchers. The other thing's a cultural thing. Absolutely, we need to be able to take responsibility as parents for our teachers, and that's got to change. Instead of blaming the schools or blaming the teachers, we need to take responsibility for our own children. We need to make sure they're doing their homework. We need to help them with that. So culturally, absolutely, but that's something that I don't think you can legislate. That's something that's got to come from churches and from groups such as this and stuff. If you try to tell a teacher, you have to be, tell a parent, you have to be responsible for your child, how does that work? It's kind of hard that way.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, are you ready?
Yeah, you're, I get the idea you're a strict constitutional constructionist and a no new taxes, very pro-business, laissez-faire, limited regulation type of candidate. You would agree, I guess, though, that that it is important that business be regulated in a free market, correct?
Yes, reasonable regulation, absolutely. But the problem is the pendulum swung so far to the left that it's just so hard to create jobs. That's why they're leaving our country left and right, and that's why people just want to give up. I can tell you many times I feel like just putting my hand between my head and just saying I should quit and just go on welfare. I'm tired of this fight. Because every week, every month, there's a new bureaucrat coming in. I mean, just yesterday I had the fire marshal come through, and literally he said, this sprinkler head and this sprinkler head here have to be cleaned, and you can't clean them yourself. You have to call a special person that does this. It's probably like $300 an hour to come in. And I'm just going, it's just one thing after another. The health department, oh, I have 4 sinks all in a row, because you know what? This sink has to be used for this sink has to be used this thing, and they're all right in a row. It's just stuff like that just goes on and on. Oh, you have to extend your, then the building safety comes and says, oh, because of handicaps now, even your building was built in the 70s, but you have to extend your bathroom, and that costs X number of thousands.
Okay, so follow up then, what are good regulations?
Good regulations are those that protect the society in a reasonable manner, but at the same time allow as much individual responsibility in the business to do as well as it can.
What are specific good regulations?
I could say, if you look back, if you cut back about 20 or 30 years worth of regulations, then there was a reasonable amount of regulations. But they've just been piling on so much lately that it's can't do. I mean, you need regulations on fire codes, absolutely. But when the book is this thick, you can't even do anything without. And then they cross over. All different entities have different requirements and rules. Those are unreasonable regulations. I'll give a quick little thing. Look at Korea versus South Korea. Korea is centrally planned. South Korea is more free enterprise and capitalism. North Korea can't even turn the lights on at night. South Korea is flourishing and prospering.
Okay,
Richard?
yeah, we're into our next panel's time.
Do you have a question?
No, that was kind.
Yeah, I know. I just, I don't know if the other panel's here yet. Is the other panel here for the next?
John Drake and Harry Mortensen? Harry Mortensen? Drake? Okay, well,
It doesn't matter, Mike.
well, I think we're,
We'll take a break.
Yeah, she's running the surrender guys.
We can do one more question.
You want me to ask one more question?
Harry.
If it's a good one.
Rowena,
If it's a
whoever
good
has
one?
the question.
hurry,
Yeah.
come on.
I think it's good.
Okay, so I would like to, Brent, if you could expand a little bit more on, I know Will was trying to get at, what are reasonable regulations? Because I think most people understand that unfettered capitalism, where there's no regulation, there's going to be so much, you're going to get back to the fact that you're going to have 3 or 4 people running everything. So what, a specific example of a good regulation?
Okay, let's just say, say the SEC. Right now, I don't know, there's been a number of, like Dodd-Frank and a number of Sarbanes-Oxley, and as a result of all these requirements with securities, companies are not listing very often like they were before. They're going to foreign exchanges, etc. So that's excessive regulation. But obviously in the securities, you have to have regulation that says, you know what, you cannot commit fraud. I mean, that's a reasonable regulation. People cannot commit fraud. But when you go too far and get too bureaucratic, I think we've gone too far. Same thing with the EPA. The EPA, we do, in the 70s and 60s, our rivers were getting dirty and stuff like that. We needed some restriction, but we can't build a pipeline right now from Canada to Houston because of the EPA. That's excessive. That's an example, I would say. But we definitely don't want companies putting toxins into the streams and polluting the air. You need reasonable regulation.
Time.
Okay, thank you. Or the governor of Nebraska doesn't want it coming across this state. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Which is the case. Republican governor of Nebraska said that we're bringing that across my state.
I thought they were all pretty much in favor. Well, I know they were going to reroute.
Because it goes over the Ogallala Aquifer.
But they were
Well, that one was part of the class. They were actually typing it down. We're adding an extra part of the
general security, it'd be better to have as much
motion wasn't what it came out of.
Right. So what was that, okay?
Did you get one of my waters?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, wait. Let me call you back in about 30 minutes. No.
Look at it for a minute. Yeah,
Yeah, they're paying for it. We're getting riots.
Oh, good. I want to listen to that. Oh, you know it.
no, not yet.
Worse than that.
Oh, it looks good.
Okay, we're 5 minutes behind. If we could get the next candidates up on the stage, and you will.
Yeah, the people in China
That's got
the Chinese government, they feel like they're riding on rhinoceros. They're hanging on for dear life.
Are you Mr. Mortensen? Could you get you up on the stage?
Loving the loot.
How you doing, Mike?